welcome to my vlog. I am Crisily Barnechea from BSE English 2B. So, in this video, I am going to impart pieces of information about literatures before the emergence of Philippine literature in English. Without further ado, let's jump with the topic. Long before the Spaniards came into our country, our ancestors had already their own culture. They believed anything they see around them. They believed different creatures such as tricksters like Pusong or Pilando, and some other bungling characters. But apart from that, let me change my character. Our ancestors tried their efforts to define their world, to account the realities in it, and to explain their feelings, beliefs, traditions, customs, and judgments. They made up interesting narratives, and these have come down to us in the form of origins, myths, legends, folktales, folk stories, fables, tales of supernatural, and short stories. There were also metrical accounts of their gods and their deeds, and even songs and verses for worship. But whatever records that our ancestors left, either burned or were written on a material that easily perished, which could not have remained undestroyed, even if efforts were made to preserve them. Luckily, other records that remained were passed on through word of mouth, until they reached the hands of publishers. Some of these were the Legend of the Tagalogs, The Moon and the Sun, which is a Tingyan folktale, Biag ni Lamang, an Ilocano epic, Haraya is a Visayan epic, Hinilawud, an epic of Sulud, and Darangan in Mindanao. There are also folk songs such as Kundiman. Moving on with the Spanish period. We all know that religion or Christianity is the biggest contribution, or let's just say the legacy of Spaniards in the Philippines. That more of the literatures has a touch of Christianity. But during this period, there are a lot of Filipinos who became popular because of their literary pieces. One of them were Francisco Baltasar y de la Cruz, but known with his pen name Francisco Balagtas. Many consider him as Filipino William Shakespeare. He is the father of Tagalog poetry because of his literary work entitled Florante at Laura. This literary piece is a Filipino epic. Florante at Laura is all about the life of Florante, who is a Duke of Kingdom of Albania, Aladdin, who is the Prince of Persia, Adolfo the Evil and Greedy of Power, and Laura, Florante's beloved. Another author in this period was Gaspar Aquino de Belen. She is a Filipina poet and a translator during the 17th century. Author in particular of Passion, a famous poetic of Passion, which is entitled Mahal na Pasyon ni Jesucristo. Filipino natives generally were not taught Spanish, but the bilingual individuals, notably poet-translator Gaspar Aquino de Belen, produced devotional poetry written in Roman script in Tagalog language. Passion is a narrative of passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is circulated in many versions. Another important author during this period was Modesto de Castro. He is a Catholic priest and moralist, a writer, and an orator. Father de Castro did not only preach the gospel orally, he also wrote works of spiritual values, many of which were biblical inspiration. One of his works was Las Tricas Doctrinales, which was printed in 1855. There was such a great demand for his classical work that in 1864 and 1878 it had to be reprinted. Father de Castro also wrote Cartas de Urbana y Felisa, or pagsusulatan ng dalawang binibini na si Urbana at Felisa. This was all about the observance of good moral and right conduct among youth, in almost all occasions and places, gatherings, parties, dances, church, school, and so on. It was first printed in 1864. So great was the demand for Urbana at Felisa that Juan Kawili needed to translate it into Ilocano in 1866. And Fruto del Prado also translated the same work in Bicol in 1867. There are other great works that were contributed by notable authors in Philippine literature, such as Ang Bagong Robinson by Joaquin Tuazon, Ang Manukkong Bulik by Jose Corazon de Jesus, Historia de Filipinas by Isabela de los Reyes, and Leona Florentino, who is the mother of Philippine women's literature. 20 of his works were preserved and exhibited in Europe. And the last period before the emergence of Philippine literature in English is Revolutionary period. I think I'm out of power to change my outfit. So, our first literary work is Noli Me Tangere. It is so familiar that every Filipino knows already who is the author of this literary work. But still we need to mention Jose Rizal, in full, Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Realonda. He is also known with his pen name Pepe, P. Jacinto, Dimas Alang, Dimas Salang, and Laong Laan. He is a patriot, a physician, and a man of letters who was the inspiration of Philippine nationalist movement. His work, Noli Me Tangere, or Touch Me Not in English, is a passionate exposure of the evils of the Spanish rule in the Philippines. Noli Me Tangere was first published in 1887. This story revolves around Crisostomo Ibarra, who is a mixed race, heir of the wealthy clan, returning home after 7 years in Europe, and filled with ideas on how to better the lot of his countrymen. Written was thus written against the background of threats and operations. He and his family suffered because of the Noli and the so-called Calamba agrarian trouble. While El Filibusterismo, which was published in 1891, second novel written, which was a sequel of Noli Me Tangere. El Filibusterismo exposes the real picture of Filipino society in the hands of Spanish authorities. The story El Filibusterismo revolves around the main character Simon, who is an affluent traveler. Simon was actually Crisostomo Ibarra of the story Noli Me Tangere, which was thought had been killed by Guardia Civil at the Laguna de Bay. Moving on with Marcelo Hilario del Pilar y Gatmaytan, or commonly known as Marcelo del Pilar, his pen name was Plaridel. He was the author and co-publisher of La Solidaridad. He founded the newspaper Diaryong Tagalog to propagate democratic, liberal ideas among farmers and peasants. Now we have Emilio Jacinto. He is a Filipino revolutionary who fought for freedom. He is also considered as the brains of Katipunan. And because of his brilliance and wit, he became the secretary and advisor of Bonifacio. He wrote The Kalayaan and he used his pen name Dimas Ilaw. He also wrote Kartilya ng Katipunan, which was composed of secret societies' commandments. Jacinto's poetical masterpiece was entitled A la Patria, which was in English, it means to my fatherland. He also wrote A mi Madre, a touching ode, and Liwanag at Dilim, which is all a prose. Other authors with their literary pieces during this period were Luciano Lopez Haina, who is first editor of La Solidaridad, which is a newspaper, True Decalogue by Apolinario Mabili, Katapusang Hibik by Andres Bonifacio, and Ninay by Pedro Paterno. There are a lot of literatures before the emergence of Philippine literature in English. And the only thing that I want to add is that to do our part, which is to appreciate literary works in our own country. Through reading and sharing these stories to the other people can empower literature in the Philippines. And through reading, you are able to travel from the past. And you can still go beyond your space even when you're still at your home or even though you are inside your rooms. There's nothing to worry about because through reading, yes, you can go beyond your space, but you are still safe with viruses because still you are at your home. If you guys like my video for today, please click the thumbs up button